Memory. It's the key to our identity.
Without memory, we are nothing.
It's who we are.
Memory hackers. Right now.
One dramatic change in the Church since the Second Vatican Council has been its attitude toward cremation. According to the Catholic Encyclopedia, which was written about 100 years ago, the Christians never burned their dead, but followed from the earliest days the practice of the Semitic race and the personal example of their divine founder. It is recorded that in times of persecution, many risked their lives to recover the bodies of martyrs for holy rites of Christian burial. The scriptural justification for burying the dead is set forth in the Old Testament. He, meaning Tobias, fed the hungry, and gave clothes to the naked, and was careful to bury the dead that were slain. Tobias continues, returning, he told him, meaning Tobias, that one of the children of Israel lay slain in the street. And he forthwith leaped up from his place at the table, and left his dinner, and came fasting to the body. And taking it up, carried it privately to his house, that after the sun was down he might bury him cautiously. Tobias, fearing God more than the king, carried off the bodies of them that were slain, and hid them in his house, and at midnight buried them. The early church fathers universally opposed cremation. For example, Tertullian said, "Only the heathen burn up their dead with the harshest inhumanity." Tertullian also called cremation a symbol of hell. Burying the dead was so important that it's listed among the corporal works of mercy. For example, according to the Baltimore Catechism, which are the chief corporal works of mercy? The chief corporal works of mercy are 7: to feed the hungry, to give drink to the thirsty, to clothe the naked, to ransom the captive, to harbor the harborless, to visit the sick, and to bury the dead. The Code of Canon Law from 1917 was very clear on this. The bodies of the faithful must be buried. Cremation is forbidden. If anyone has in any manner ordered his body to be cremated, it shall be unlawful to execute that desire. If this order has been attached to a contract, last will, or any other act, it is considered as not added. Please note that last part. It shall be unlawful to execute the desire. If the order is attached to a will, it is considered as not being added. Throughout most of history, even Protestant sects opposed cremation. So, who changed all of this? According to the Catholic Encyclopedia, which, as you remember, was written about 100 years ago, the legislation of the Church in forbidding cremation rests on strong motives. For cremation, in the majority of cases today, is knit up with circumstances that make it a public profession of irreligion and materialism. It was the Freemasons who first obtained official recognition of this practice from various governments. The campaign opened first in Italy, the first attempts being made by Brunetti at Padua. So, the same folks that popularized ecumenism and religious liberty also popularized cremation. Cremation was illegal in England until the 1880s, when an effort to legalize it was spearheaded by a self-styled Druid priest named William Price. As with many issues, the Protestant sects just caved in one by one on this issue, while the Catholic Church remained steadfast. But then, the Second Vatican Council happened. Now, if you've been following the Smoke of Satan playlist on this channel, I hope that you'll join me in having a healthy skepticism in regard to all the changes in the Church since the Second Vatican Council. With a seeming mandate from the Council for change for the sake of change, the Code of Canon Law was revised in 1983, and the new revised code stipulates the Church earnestly recommends the pious custom of burying the dead be observed. It does not, however, forbid cremation unless it has been chosen for reasons which are contrary to Christian teaching. Now these words, unless it has been chosen for reasons which are contrary to Christian teaching, don't you think that's extremely ambiguous? Other than a person saying publicly that I'm getting cremated only because it's contrary to Christian teaching, can you even imagine an example where someone would suspect that this qualification has surfaced? 9 years later, after the Code of Canon Law, the Catechism of the Catholic Church was issued, and the new catechism says, the Church permits cremation, provided that it does not demonstrate a denial of faith in the resurrection of the body. In any case, both the Code of Canon Law from 1983 and the new Catechism of the Catholic Church are contrary to tradition and Scripture, and that, my friends, is a problem. So what are the takeaways of this video? And the first is pretty obvious. We shouldn't be cremated. We should make sure that our desires in this regard are clear to our survivors. We might also consider spelling it out in a will. But what if we have friends or family who have expressed the desire to be cremated? Though this creates an uncomfortable situation, this is actually an opportunity for evangelization. Of course, we need to wait for the right time. If our friends or family feel like we're ambushing them or just bludgeoning them, they're just going to turn us off. But on this particular issue, many people will be more receptive than you might think because they're uncertain about this issue in the first place. Finally, if we find ourselves being executors of wills that call for cremation of the deceased, we need to let the people know who have put us in their will before they die that we can't honor their wish to be cremated. If they want to find another executor, then that's their choice. Well, I hope you enjoyed this installment. We'll be back again in about a week with another one. In the meantime, please pray for the church.
Angels laid him away. They laid him 6 feet under the clay. Angels laid him away.